Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes. No signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Hello everyone and welcome to Simracersworld TV for the SRW Dynamixx NASCAR Winter Series. It's round 2, we're at the Texas Motor Speedway. My name is Hasse Rømer and I am here with the brilliant Jack Oliphant to take you through the action. And last week we had some close racing indeed and a finish to make you scream. And with those words, Jack, what are your expectations of the action here tonight?
Well, as you know, I wasn't here last week. We had Ed May covering for me. I did a brilliant job, as I'm sure he did. But obviously, we did the Daytona 500 a couple of weeks ago. Now, that is about as far as my NASCAR experience goes, apart from the Disney Pixar movie Cars. But I'm expecting some really close action. You were describing the finish last week, and I gave it a quick watch, and it certainly looked exciting. Sergio Hernandez actually won the race in NASCAR terms relatively easily, I'd say, with half a second gap, 4/10 the gap. But second down to fifth, they were basically crashing across the line, weren't they?
Indeed they weren't, and it was, I was fearing for the well-being of my voice again. That's 2 out of 2 NASCAR broadcasts where I felt in that very way as they came across the line. So let's see if we can make it 3 out of 3 here at Texas. Some people talking about this track as being really hard on the tires, so we'll see tire management being a major key part. We might see cars that are even sketchier to drive than last week. And mind you, these Cup cars are a handful indeed. And with those words, let's go over to some live pictures and to the last seconds, or the last minutes indeed, of practice.
Yeah, practice has been tightly fought, shall we say, and they've been going for a couple of hours, some of these guys. I mean, Bart DeVos at the top of the field, he's currently on his 80th lap. So the fact that he's got the fastest lap of the race is no real shock. But you can see on the timing to just the right of his name as well on the timing tower that Nijwolf is just 1/100th of a second behind. Klutz is not far behind that. Werner Hock is not far behind that. So this qualifying is going to be extraordinarily close. And people are used to track racing being close, being within a tenth, 2/10, half a second of each other. These guys are separated. The top 17 drivers are separated by 2/10 of a second. And that is, even for touring car standards, that's pretty outstanding.
That is absolutely insane if you take it in road racing terms indeed. But NASCAR oval racing in general just tends to produce something very different. It's a different flavor altogether, and it's certainly exciting indeed. Some people say it's less demanding and whatnot, and I tend to get the joke and everything, but at the same time, having seen different drivers take to, and I mean different drivers as in TV presenters and such, when they go over to test out a NASCAR, it always seems like it's quite a handful of a machine. There is no real driver aids. There is actually no driver aids whatsoever. A manual gearbox, old-fashioned, 4 gears, and underneath their body shells as well, Jack, these cars are all the same, aren't they?
They are indeed, which is one of the reasons why they're such a fantastic race to watch, really. It's one of the things that the fans love to come and see. Obviously, the one-make series that we all know and love from track racing is always good fun. Well, these guys are pretty much the same, although there's some Chevy Camaros, there's some Toyotas on track, I think, and obviously the Fords. They are all basically the same underneath. You can only change little bits and bobs to the setup, ride height, bumper springs, all that sort of thing. But as you said, Hasse, there is no driving aids or anything. So really, it's down to the driver and the circuit and the car that's underneath him. And without a pit chief or pit crew or anything like that, the drivers in this race will not only be driving the car, as we see one of the Fords nicely drifting into the inside wall there, they'll also be trying to do all the tactics and everything like that. And although we don't have a full length race as normal NASCAR races do, we're trying to fit it into a 2-hour broadcast. They're still going to be having to think about all those tactical decisions as well.
Yeah, indeed, that's a very good point, and we saw that last week as well with the pit stops and the choices that you're given to make in a race like this with the caution periods, with all that stuff. I think we saw 4 or 5 caution periods in round 1. That could be a higher number today. We'll have to see just for how long they can keep it running, because mind you, it's very difficult indeed with 35 cars or so the field tonight. It's going to be that track out there is going to be a tightly contested bit of space indeed. Here's with the leaving up the bake and the 565 car here. Mind you, qualifying is taking place solo, so we can jump about and watch the different drivers go along. We've got 10 minutes. I think they have a limited number of laps as well. And I know that Anton Dupin wants me to do a prayer before the race. He sent me a video of a pastor doing a prayer for like a thank you, mighty Lord above, for all these forts and for my smoking hot wife and stuff like that. It was absolutely incredible. It was good stuff indeed. It's a bit of special culture that surrounds NASCAR as well when you take it into comparison with a lot of the European motor racing, or perhaps it's just the equivalent, the American equivalent of so. Here, Sergio Hernandez, last week's winner, goes atop the table with a 28.624. As you said before, we see the top 5 already here within a tenth. 11 drivers within 2/10, and most of the drivers have only really put in a few couple of laps already here.
Yeah, well, a lot of the obviously with only 10 minutes gone, as I was saying, I think it was DeVos, sorry, he was top of the table in practice, but he'd done 80 laps, and the fact that we only have 10 minutes here today, the lap is a very short lap here. It's only 1.5 miles at the Texas Motor Speedway. You can get quite a few laps in, but a 10-minute stint in any kind of qualifying, in any kind of car, in any kind of series all over the world is still a very tight margin to get your laps in. And obviously these guys have their own lobby to do it in, so there's no drafting or anything like that. No problems there. There's no also rubber on the road, so we might not get as quick as we did in practice. And every NASCAR track is slightly different as well, although they all just generally turn left. This one seems a little bit narrower than the likes of Daytona, and it looks a bit harsher on the tyres as well. So they're going to have to sort of worry about that. Qualifying, maybe not worry about that so much, but you do definitely have to get used to how the track handles, even though, as I said, it all just generally turns left.
It does indeed, but it's... And I think anyone who's ever tried oval racing will agree, and I think Anton Dupin will as well. Perhaps that's for missing the prayer and only mentioning it, but not really doing a prayer. But to be fair and honest, I'm really not that much of a believing man myself, so I find it a bit hard doing such a thing, at least with the right amount of integrity, so to say. Here's Pablo Cortel. I'm afraid he wasn't in the first round, but he's here tonight in the 83 car for S2V. It's a very good-looking machine, this, I must say, Jack.
I'm a fan of purple. It's my branded colours all over my Facebook and YouTube and everything like that. And I'm a big fan of the liveries all over the course, to be honest. But the deep purple, that was really nice. Anton Dupin seems to have parked himself nicely on the apron. I just learned that term actually by Googling it very quickly. But some of these liveries look really, really smart, and it really gives us a good idea. That one's very bright by Steve Clays. We're definitely not going to miss him in the number 3 car, are we?
No, indeed. If you all of a sudden find yourself with a need, a kind of urge, the hang for chocolate, look no further to the explanation than the machine here of Steve Clays. And remember, M&Ms, they will melt on your tongue and not in your hand. They used to have that slogan, at least in Denmark, quite some years ago.
I don't remember. That's not one that's ever crossed my memory there, Hasse.
No.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it.
It was actually, as I said, that was their actual slogan in the commercials and such when you saw them on TV. Anyways, a very warm welcome and a very good evening to everyone joining in. Tons of chat activity here, early days that brought this broadcast, and few things delight me more than to see a chat on fire. So that's always nice, and I hope you enjoy the show here as much as we do in the booth, and fingers crossed that we'll get something that's just, if it's just remotely close to the level of entertainment we had last week, it's gonna be a banger yet again. Indeed, here we are with Brian Harris, who did so well for so long. He came from all the way back the field, and in a very short space of time, in the final fourth of the race or so, he went all the way to the front, only to be involved in a rather calamitous incident, and you could say, and he hit the wall rather hard indeed. That was the end of his chances. And yes, indeed, Brian Harris was showing promise, but just lacked the final effort to it here. And I think at the current moment, the only car running is the machine of Sven Kalbert.
Yeah, I've been called out on the chat here after you said there's been a bit of an activity, Hasse. I've been called out on the chat by Porsche Sports saying that I need to watch Talladega Nights, not Cars, apparently. So, to be fair, I've only ever watched Talladega Nights. I think once when I was younger. I think my brother watched it. I think it's something I'm definitely going to have to look into to do my research on these Monday night NASCAR races. Have you ever watched? Has it ever come across your path, Talladega Nights, Hasse?
I've heard about it, but I've never seen it, so I have to be guilty of not having seen Talladega Nights as well. By the way,
we'll have to have a hosting, a watching party, Hasse, me and you, to try and get up to speed, I think.
I will. By the way, we seem to have quite a bit of our viewership wanting prayer before the race, so I'm thinking, even though I'm not overly religious, I'll give it a shot anyway. Lord above, thank you for all these virtual machines and all these PCs, and may our CPUs and graphics card endure what is to come. May our wheels and pedals all hold up, and may none of our accelerators or brakes stick. May the drivers be good to one another and know their limits. Maybe have a clean race with only a few cautions, because after all, we do want to see a bit of action, don't we? And yeah, good race, everyone. Thank you for all these... I was just about to say all these Toyotas, and but it sounds weird when it's... you can say Chevys, I guess. Anyways, prayer done, and we're getting closer and closer to boogity boogity boogity. What, sorry?
Are you sure you didn't have that written down?
I did not have that written down at all. That was all improv.
Well, I'm very impressed, as I say. We are nearly at the end of qualifying. Obviously, only about a minute and a half to go. As Hasse said before, there is only a few cars out on the circuit. Sergio Hernandez is top of the pile yet again, carrying on his good form from last week. He's still actually out on circuit by the looks of it, but Sven Kalbert and Van Oickven is also out on track. Van Oickven's just come in, and so is Kalbert, actually. So Hernandez, the only car out on track at the moment, top of the pile at the moment as well by just, it's very close to Van Oickven, but only still about thousands, well, how would you say that? 16 thousandths of a second away, shall we say. That's probably the way you should say.
Yeah, indeed. We can see here, all of a sudden, the qualifying data that shows up at the bottom of the screen is actually very helpful, as it strikes me. Usually I think it's a bit chaotic when we have road racing and many cars on the track at the same time. Amen, indeed. By the way, that's the only thing I could have added to make it even better. I'll remember that for next time. And yes, we do have to make the prayer a returning event, indeed, for future introductions of these races. It's brilliant indeed. And the biggest thanks of all doesn't go to the Lord above from me, but to Dynamixx Racing Simulators. Go to their website, link is in the description, and there'll be chances throughout this broadcast whenever we get the yellow flag out, and I will be gracious with my reminders of you to go and check it out indeed. Here is Hernandez just getting a little too down low. Maybe he was just aiming for the pit lane as the timer runs out. Checkered flag is out, and that means I think we have our qualifying results settled indeed.
It does indeed, and Hernandez, as I said, is doing very well at the top of the order. Hasse, I'll let you run down the order before we go racing, and yeah, good luck to you, good luck to the drivers, and good luck everybody in the chat as well.
Yes, indeed. It's Sergio Hernandez in pole position with Frederik van Eekhoven joining him on the front row, Hendrik de Grave in third, and Bart Daleman fourth for Simracersworld Esports. Then Kenji Newhoff, Adam Wright, both Team Down Under drivers on row 3. Pablo Cortel and Matthew Soufi as well, they're on row 4. Then Steven de Wolf and Steve Claes, Bart de Vos and Kobe Claes. As I was just, from having set the music on, I wasn't really ready to scroll down. What a poor performance by me, I apologize. Ryan Walker, Yves Fredericks, Roger Morton and Sven Kalbert. is up there as well. Anton Dupin 17th, and Gregory Franks for Simracersworld Esports as well. He's in 18th place. Brian Harris, the aforementioned, in 19th, and then Paul Gosling in 20th place. Kurt van Honager and Craig Jones is there in what I believe is row 11. And on row 12, Lawrence Klutz and Bram van Uyften is, well, down there indeed, you could say. I was about to say up there, but just figuring out that wouldn't really be. Then it's just Tusting and Robert Lundgren, the Swede, for Boosted Motorsports. And Jochen Lennartz, I have to sort out that bit of a kerfuffle on the screen indeed, but we'll be sure to have that sorted. Leaving up the big, Kippe Heid, and the good old Van den Berge in 30th place. Then Ivan Baumans, Stuart Musselwhite, and Ian Roots, who I think didn't set a time. That goes for both of the two bottom runners in qualifying indeed.
Yeah, the boss not setting their time there. Ian Roots, he wasn't here for week one, I don't believe. He was on his anniversary, I think it was. So, well, he's back with a vengeance. I think he was watching it last week, though, and thoroughly enjoyed it. He couldn't wait to get going. And we can't wait to get going either, can we, Hasse? It's going to be, 90 minutes roughly of fantastic NASCAR racing. I think everyone's going to settle themselves in, make sure they're not doing anything silly, and hopefully we don't take too many forced cautions.
Well, we'll have to see about that. It's a 130 lap race, so we'll just see if they are able to run through it all, or whether we will have any extended bits of caution. Of course, sometimes we do see one caution period basically following another one when they basically wreck in turn one, and it's also kind of problematic. You do see tire temperatures go down, and all of a sudden it's a little bit more difficult. But anyways, it's now Sergio Hernandez controlling the pace with Frederick Van Ookhoven there on row one. And let's see, it's green, 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 and it's boogity, boogity, boogity from round two of the Simracersworld Dynamixx NASCAR Winter Series from the Texas Motor Speedway.
It is indeed. Sergio Hernandez with absolutely mega start. It won't mean too much as soon as we get into the race, but by the looks of it, they're all queuing up along the inside line. I think that's Van Ookhoven on the outside, and no real crashes so far, which is great to see all the way down the order now. Van Hocker and Craig Jones here at the bottom with the very funky looking livery indeed, but by the looks of it, Hernandez has already sit down to second place with Nywolf, and this is going to be the course of the day, to be honest. You're going to see plenty of action, plenty of overtakes, and plenty of bunching in contact, I'm sure. NASCAR round two here at Texas Motor Speedway is underway. We're already on lap two.
We are indeed. It's a very short lap here, and as we see, there is plenty of action already here from the get-go, as positions are swapping left, right, and center, and trying to keep a hold of everything that's happening at this early point of a race like this is pretty much going to be difficult indeed. Here is Steve Kleiss. He is in 11th, and we think we've had the first problem of the race, and that is
Bart de Vos. Bart de Vos, he's
Vos.
caused a few other spinners as well.
Bart de Vos, there he is, and I will have to see if that's brought out the yellow flag, because I'd be surprised if it hasn't, and indeed the yellow flag has been brought out, and here we have the incident at hand. Bart de Vos being collected by, again, Ryan Walker, who was involved in multiple incidents last week. Oh my word.
Yeah, not ideal for either party there, really, but we're back under caution. Yellow flag being brought out by the looks of it. Kenzie at the top of the order, Nywolf, he's he's in first place. He's made his way up 4 places so far, so he's been the biggest mover and shaker. Ivan Baumas has actually moved up 5 places, all the way down to 26th as well, but obviously Bart de Vos, he's not going to be too pleased about that being speared into the wall. But I'm sure this is the way in NASCAR. You know, there's always going to be more caution periods, opportunities to move back up the order as long as they can get the car fixed if there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, indeed, and that's what we saw as well. But this caution period coming very early in the race, and very much different from what we saw last week, where we had a super, super clean start. Good points were being made when I spoke to Ian during the week here, that many of these drivers very much are not used to oval racing. So to see a race as clean as it was for as long as it was last week was quite impressive, given the closeness of the racing going on here. Quite a number of cars already ducking into the pits, and whether that is for tires, just for tires, fuel, or for fixing repairs, well, it'll be a mix of all of the above, I think. And here is, Thijs van den Berge, who for some reason has a bit of a wonk on his display, and I'll get that fixed immediately.
Yeah, well, if people are wondering about how big an impact that all was really to the drivers that haven't pitted, Ian Roots, who started in 33rd, is up to 20th. You can just about see him on your timing tower on the left-hand side. So that's a pretty good indication of everybody who's jumped into the pits and sort of the impact that's made on the drivers who stayed out. Obviously, the top drivers, in terms of like the top of the timing tower at the moment, they're all stayed out, so nobody's pitted in for those guys just yet. So clearly they don't think that a pit stop is advantageous to them just yet. Maybe a couple more laps in another caution period, they'll change their mind.
Yeah, indeed. And good question, Jimmy. It's the first caution period that you've checked in for, but we didn't go many laps into the race before it happened. And as the race goes on, these periods can indeed come at very critical moments, and they have been decision making for many a NASCAR race, many an oval race over the course of times, indeed. And we've seen that as well. And keep your eyes open for that stuff. So
yeah, I think we're about to go racing though, Hasse, soon, because obviously all drivers are pretty much lining up 2 by 2. And before we say hurrah, hurrah, we'll be getting back underway sooner rather than later, I think. And it's going to be Hernandez trying to challenge from the outside this time. So it's a bit of roles reversed, trying to use a little bit of slipstream or side drafting, which is obviously an extremely key component in NASCAR racing. It's all based on the toe, as every single car is pretty much exactly the same underneath the shells. So it's all about timing, all about time management, and all about how you can sort of manage your way through the race as well. 130 laps or an hour and a half is a very long time to keep your car going at optimal speed. But we are almost away. They're going to pull up to the line now. Nywolf has got the pace on everybody else. When's he going to drop it? He's dropped it, and he's away. Hernandez slots into the second place as the flag goes green. And biggity, 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 let's go racing.
Indeed. Back to green flag. Here as the Texas Motor Speedway is lit up, and the roar of many V8s indeed comes thundering down to turn 1. Here's Frederik van Eekhoven on the outside of the 83 machine, and they're going to be fighting for it. Right in front of them is Hendrik de Grave in the Flemish Sim Sports car. And I heard someone mention Pablo Cortel as the Professor Cortel. So we'll let that stick. I think that Professor Cortel sounds rather nice to me indeed, but he's in 5th place. Still very, very, very close between the front runners. Kenzie Newhoff up there. Still, and we saw Team Down Under 1 week ago. They were so close indeed, as they had 3 cars finishing in positions 3, 4, and 5, and it was just missing out on the podium places at the very end. And some very good teamwork during the race, but also a few lessons to learn. Here is the battle for second still heating up, as Sergio Hernandez is defending from Hendrik de Grave.
Yeah, I think this is, obviously I've only covered a handful of NASCAR events, but I think this is the biggest gap that I've seen for the lead in any of them, to be honest. Absolutely streaking away at the moment with Hernandez, de Grave and Van Eekhoven. They need to work together, get their heads down, start slipstreaming each other to make sure they catch back up to the pole man, because that's going to be absolutely key. They can't let him drive away. I'm sure they'll be able to rein him in eventually, but that's going to definitely be key. Make sure they're not making contact with each other is basically what I'm saying, as we're focusing on Morton, and this is the sort of view from his perspective. It's all a bit of a guesswork of where all you're supposed to be, whether you go to the outside, inside, how well your opponents are going to work. There's an awful lot of trust in NASCAR, isn't there, Hasse, about where your opponents are going to go and make sure they don't turn across you.
Yeah, it is. It's a case of almost having to be a psychic to kind of just know what your opponent is thinking at the crucial time. Carsten, I do believe there is a fast repair or 2 actually, but plenty of chances to munch through those in a race like this, as we're following Roger Morton in the 92 car. Oh, and there's a bit of squabbling going up here as Adam Wright is on the inside of the Professor Cortel. And I think gaining the position for now, at least. Of course, these early position changes aren't going to matter too much, but I'm gonna take a risk and pull in another bike race analogy here, but it's kind of like a bike race where the safest place to be is sort of at the front, or near the front at least, where well, the further up the field you are, basically the fewer cars that are in front of you that can have an accident.
Yeah, obviously you want to have a nice little space around yourselves. The bigger the space, though, the less opportunity you have for any kind of slipstreaming, any kind of tow. But obviously you have a lot better chance of staying on the road because nobody's going to just misjudge a couple of inches and put you straight to the wall that we saw there with Bart de Vos. Obviously, Bart de Vos was actually quickest in practice. We mentioned him a couple of times. He also came third last week as well. So round one really went his way in a lot of ways. Round two certainly hasn't at the moment. But if there are a few quick repairs, then I'm sure he'll be back on the circuit and driving his way up the order. I can't quite see where he is. In fact, no, he's in 22nd. Just moved his way up to 21st, in fact. So Bart de Vos, he's on the move.
Bart de Vos is indeed. And Thomas, it is very close to track cycling, and it's a thing that I hold dear to my heart as well. Oh, they're getting sketchy down here. Look at the 565 car losing positions, and Ian Roots on the tail of Ryan Walker, who had quite an unlucky race, as I already mentioned last week. And Ian, the big boss here at Simracersworld, is getting down 30 in the thick of the mud there. Just happened there up ahead as well for even Bauermans. I think in the 268 cars he's almost getting loose, and I think that's the car of Kimber Haidt. Just trying to sneak it up the inside as well. Oh, and up there on the outside, there's so much happening all of a sudden. Oh, I think indeed Sven Calvert has an off track, and just how that happened. Oh, look at this. Oh, he hit the wall. And how he manages to keep that rolling. Mind you, we haven't had a yellow flag, but it's going to be damage to Sven's car nonetheless. And anything but perfect for him. Yeah, I think, well, it looks like it was Cortell involved. I think Paul Gosling had a bit of an off moment as well that we saw earlier on, just at the side of the screen, but we couldn't quite see what happened there. It'll be interesting if we can go that far back and have a look, but might not be able to on the old timing system that we've got. But here's Robert Lundgren. He's in 25th at the moment. We're back with Hendrik de Graeve, actually. It's the Flemish Simsport guys, dominant in the Daytona 500 that we covered here a couple of weeks ago. A brilliant broadcast, by the way. If anybody's enjoying the NASCAR in racing, then go and check that out, because it was absolutely stunning race to behold all through all of it, basically. And Frederick van Eickhoven, who was in part of the team down under. Oh, we've got a yellow flag. And I just
we got a yellow flag?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just going to see if I can catch whoever it happened to and where in the field that seemed to... Here's Kobe Klaas. Sven Calvert seemed to be all behind it. He could be caught up. So I'm just going to see if we can get a glimpse of what happened here. Right behind Ian Roos as he's touched by the 888 car. And they both make contact with the wall. And that was a little unlucky, but luckily not too many cars caught up in what is now our second caution period of tonight. A perfect time to check out our sponsor, Dynamixx Racing Simulators, on dynamixx.be, and go get inspired to a rig construction of your own. Certainly the stuff of dreams that you find in there. And Kenzie Newhoff, I was about to say is pitting in, but basically, at the moment, Jack, everyone seems to be pitting in.
Yeah, it's a time for a quick pit stop, shall we say. It's looks like a few cars, are going up, maybe for wheels. I don't see both sides going up, so I think it may only be for fuel at the moment. The wheels are still probably, well, the tyres, I should say, are still pretty good, probably. So everybody piling back out. Well, it looks like it was Kobe Klaas who was involved with that accident, wasn't it? I think it was only really Kobe only had himself to blame now. I think the 33 car looked like it just came straight back over to the inside, and the 888 car had nowhere really to go. But Nywolf has maintained his lead, but it's been absolutely dashed down as well. With I'll just have a look actually. Where was our pole sitter? Where is Hernandez? Oh, there he is. You're on board with him there. So I completely missed that, Hasse. Well done.
That's what happens if. I think I don't have either fingers or toes, or I think you'd multiply that by quite a lot to get to the number of times I've made these small mistakes. You tend to make more of those even than you seem to be right sometimes. By the way, we do NASCAR. We do it now, at least because it's relatively new to the channel and to Simracersworld as a whole. This is the second race of our first NASCAR series. And the aforementioned Daytona, the Dynamixx Daytona 500, was our very first NASCAR event. So it's still in its fledgling stages. And as such, I think all of us commentators that are doing it here are very much also still on the learning curve, so to say, because I don't consider myself a NASCAR expert in any way, but you know, the more you learn. So picking it up, here is Steven DeWolf in the 76 car for Dynamixx Race Simulators, the team. And he's in 10th place at the moment. He's lost a single since he started in 9th. The high jumper, so to say, of the field so far seems to be Ian Roots, actually. The boss who's absolutely bossing it. He started in, well, not dead last, but second too. Actually, he was dead last. And he's now all the way up in 17th place. He's gone through half the field, Jack. And if he continues like that at lap 40 in around 15 minutes or so, he'll be leading the race.
Yeah, and we've had Jack Werrell on the comments as well. Another one of our very well-esteemed commentators who covered the 500 with us, actually. He's supporting Ian. We've got the Mew, actually, calling you out, Hasse, saying hello. A few other people commenting on the chat, so keep your comments coming in. We'll try and reply to as many as we can. We'll probably have plenty of caution periods, so by all means, let's have a chat. We're going 2 by 2 though. Hasse, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, I think it's my turn to get him back to green, and as the pace car's gotten its light off, we all know what that spells. It spells boogie time. We're 15 minutes into an hour and a half maximum of time limit, or 130 laps, and it'll be whatever we get to first here. Our eyes at the moment on the number 19 car of Sergio Hernandez. He's been swapping lead position there back and forth with Kenzie Newhoff, and Adam Bright and Frederick van Eekhoven makes it 3 up there for Team Down Under yet again. A force to be reckoned with. It's the drivers in control, and when will they go? There, you can just hear it as Sergio Hernandez floors it. He goes a little early this time, and he's able just to catch Kenzie out. But the question is if it's going to be enough, and they're going to be absolutely side by side. Into turn 1 they come. Screaming through it yet again. The roar of V8 thunder as they come thundering down the straight indeed. And I see some camo cars moving up. Oh, and they're touching down there. And I'm afraid that's Bart de Vos again. And the question is, are we going to be back to yellow flag already again here? As I'm scrolling on my event viewer. We are indeed. Oh, my word.
Well, safety cars breed safety cars as we're having a look at De Wolf here. He just gets collected, really. I think Roger Morton was in the result clothing car. He was a big loser on that one. He went tumbling straight down the order immediately. So worth having a look. Yeah, there we go. He's collecting with the number 6 car. That is, try to have a look up the order. If you can find it, has to call it out. Bart de Vos back involved with it again. Bart de Vos was the number 6 car that Roger Morton was rubbing, and unfortunately that rubbing was not racing.
It's what happens when you get these machines out of balance indeed, but that got very close indeed, and we've been spared of any huge incidents so far, but it hasn't really been enough to save us from having any at all, and we're on to our 3rd caution period already here. So those of you who were mentioning the fact that we will probably have more yellows than last time out, well, right you were indeed, and let's see if they can get it rolling yet again here. And it's very much a question of patience, and a question of maybe just knowing and realizing that that now is maybe not the time to gain it all. And with patience comes good things normally, Jack.
Yeah, they've got to learn how to race on an oval. We saw this in the 500. Was it a car screaming past on the outside there? We saw this with the 500. Really, the drivers, they were a bit too almost like a sprint race at the beginning. You have to treat it as an endurance event. It is, after all, a 90-minute race or 130 laps, and it doesn't matter how short the lap is. 130 laps is still a long way in any race cars. So you have to sort of make sure that you're chilling out a little bit. Make sure you're getting into the rhythm of the circuit, the rhythm of the cars around you, making sure the tyres are all nice and hot. I realise that there's a lot of sort of like easy mistakes to make, and I'm sat here behind a monitor instead of a driving seat. But that's what they've got to sort of build into this experience of driving on an oval race.
Indeed, and I also think it's a question of no doubt. I think they have the skills needed to succeed. But
they absolutely have
just knowing to hold back just that little bit, but we'll see. And it's still making for good racing, and also the caution periods, of course, give people the chance of actually staying somewhat in the race. A good point being made by the Mew in chat that the tires do cool off under these caution periods, and when going back to green, you have to be mindful of the fact that they aren't necessarily all up to temp, and as such, the grip isn't going to be all the way to top level either. So let's see if we get a cleaner start on this restart. But you don't say that cautions breed cautions for nothing. It takes a bit of repetition, I think, for things to get to that level where it's almost a cliche, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. We have Matthias on the chat as well saying Verhoeven, he's calling them the firecrackers. So we've got the boss, the professor, and now the firecracker as well. I'm sure by the end of this series we'll probably have a nickname for all 30 cars, and we'll actually forget what their real names are.
It'll be all. We'll be getting all familiar with every single name on the grid. Anyway, the pace car lights are out, and over to you, Jack, we go for getting back to green.
Yeah, indeed, and this time it's again Nywolf on the start. So it's going to be when they decide to go, when they decide to drop it. Sergio Hernandez was the car that had the honours last time out. So they've shared the honours once, but after this it'll be 2 times apiece to get the race restarted between these two drivers from Team Down Under and Lucky Dogs. But as the sort of safety car is about to roll his way in, you'll see him just cut down onto the apron and into the pit lane. They're lining up 2 by 2, and it's going to be some absolutely close, stunning racing yet again. The front lads have been very well behaved so far, but it's all about how well the midfield and the back end can treat themselves, because that's what's bred these safety cars so far. There we go, the safety car's in. When is Kenzie going to drop the hammer? Because that's all important. He got a really good start last time. He's waiting, making them wait and wait and wait, and I think he's gone. So Kenzie Nywolf is absolutely away with it, and he's done another fantastic start. Sergio Hernandez is still in second place, but he's on the outside of Frederick Verhoeven, the firecracker, up the inside, and he's back up to second place. Sergio Hernandez has dropped down. He's got Adam Wright alongside him now as well, and another Team Down Under the driver. So they're really pushing for the podium positions now.
Yes, they are. So Hernandez has dropped down a few places there. It's Steve Glass on a very good roll indeed. And up the inside goes Hendrik de Grave there in the 87 car, I'm sorry, on the 83 machine of Professor Cortel. We've got Greg Franks and Bart Daleman in behind. So 2 Belgians on the chase as well. He's going to try to take advantage of the side draft here. Oh, and they're swapping positions now. Take it easy as the car starts to slide. You can just see Greg Franks getting ever so loose on the inside line. And that is often what happens there. Now be careful though, guys. I'm getting a bad heart for this already. But they're still running. There's even Bauman's in the 268 car. Very close to the cars ahead, and they look to be going 3 wide, almost making contact there with the... I think that was the Wolf in the 76 machine, and the cars are now starting slowing down. I think there's been an issue for Kurt van Hohenacker that's in the pit lane, so that's going to be a piece of bad luck indeed. But luckily it's not while they were actually racing here, and My mistake, we're still green indeed, and there's 3 wide here, and just as we go back, the 83 car has a huge moment there indeed, Jack, and whoa, good God, and good stuff from the professor there to keep it alive.
Well, if it didn't sound awful on mic, I'd be giving him a round of applause right now, because that is car control equal to anything we see over in European track racing. These NASCARs are not easy. As soon as they get a bit loose on the rear end, they absolutely fly away from you. So the professor there really breaking down the maths and making sure he knew his drag coefficient and all that sort of rubbish, and making sure he had his car basically in a straight line come the end of the corner. But this midfield battle is starting to just be gapped slightly by the front end, and Kenzie with the race lead at the moment. They've got about 0.4 of a second between Van Ekhoven and Hernandez and Wright as well. So this gap is about a second behind the rest of them, or half a second.
Yeah, indeed. But it's something we saw a few times as well on round 1, that the very front runners got a little more spread out, a little faster as well than the cars behind, but also that it's near impossible to actually break away from that little bit of a pack in behind that we see here of positions 2, 3, and 4. And then Steve Gleis for Eximia Esports. And the unforgiven, that is Ryan Walker for Nomad in the 555 machine, who finds himself up there after, I think, being a part of an earlier incident. So that's rather impressive. Just goes to show how much you can actually do with a fast repair here. The 83 car still under huge pressure there from the Grave, and it's the 111 car of Bart Daleman that's putting on the pressure. And now Brian Harris on the outside in the 8 car really getting involved as well. He's been moving up through the field and looking to repeat his performance minus the last 10 minutes. Indeed, there are fast repairs, Mew. I think there are 2, and a lot of drivers, that's probably a bit much to say, but a few of the drivers will find themselves having spent at least one already here. But this time around, Jack, a little bit more of green flag racing, and we've already really been enjoying it.
Yeah, I think we've actually got about 5 laps out of the green flag, which is, I'm saying that, the commentator's curse, there's a lot of smoke. I think everybody's just about all right. No, is he going to spin into the wall? Good car control. He's on the apron, he's going to have to blend back in. But let's have a look at that one if we can see who it is. It's Harris. I think it's a bit of a netcode issue, actually, at the end there for the number 87 car of whoever 87 is. I'll try and find it on my timing tower now. Hendrick de Graves. So, yeah, those two definitely getting a bit out of sorts. But we are back down to a caution. So I think we had the yellow flags out.
Yes, we do, and I have to say I'm not even sure that was really necessary in this case, because we didn't really have that much of an accident. So I think it was just the 2 cars being involved that triggered the yellow. Whoever gets the lucky dog is going to be happy for it. And we're back to another yellow flag period indeed. And that is one of the most blatant cases of the curse of the commentator, Jack, that I've seen in quite a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. He passed over to me and I saw smoke. I was thinking, well, that must just be a glitch. That must be my game lagging a bit or something. But unfortunately, yeah, the commentator's curse struck hard, even though it was on a sunny day here in Texas. We're all pitting now into the pits. They nearly all come. I think that's Bart Daleman who stayed out. Not sure where he was, but yeah, I think the Kobe class is going to have the lucky dog. He might be able to unlap himself. I'm sure that's what he's really hoping for. There was only about 4 cars that are a lap down, considering we're about 40 laps in nearly. That's not too bad, I'd say. But obviously, the fact that the caution came out, as you said, Hasse, probably wasn't exactly necessary. It's probably just, as you said again, the 2 cars coming onto the apron, coming off the track, meant that it just automatically put them on.
Yeah, indeed. So drivers popping back out, and I think most of them are still going to be in fine condition. Fast repair, perhaps for Brian Harris and the Flemish Simsports car there that was involved in that small incident before, but it was really, as I would say, that was very much a minor incident indeed. And are we glad? And look at this, a few drivers taking a bit of a chance here. Bart Daleman Anton Dupin, Jochen Lennartz of Dynamixx Race Simulators. And Jochen actually the big boss of Dynamixx as a whole, so it's nice to have him racing as well. Look at that. It's got the Godfather on the background, the boss indeed. But just saying, a lot of cars are just taking a bit of a chance on trying to gain a position or two, or even 10 here at the caution period by not coming in for fresh tires and fuel.
Yeah, well, you might as well, in my opinion. If it hasn't been that long since we, had a very quick pit stop for a few of these drivers. Well, nearly everybody came in for the pits about 10, 15 laps ago. So realistically, they haven't burnt off that much fuel. They haven't excessively worked their tires. They've only had about 7 laps of green running. So realistically, if I was probably further down, back end of the midfield, I'd probably be going for a little punt as well. But then again, as I said before, I'm not racing, am I? So. These guys are clearly a lot more experienced than me, having done exactly one race. And they'll probably be the ones to look out for.
Yeah, indeed. So now is as good a time as any to take you through our running order as we go back to green in a moment. It's Bart Daleman with Anton Dupin, Kim de Heet, and Jochen Lennartz in fourth. Then it's Steve Glass, it's Frederik van Eekhoven, Sergio Hernandez, and Adam Wright. In front of Kenzie Newhoff, it's Dr. Cortell. I was about to say the Professor Cortell, as lights are off on the pace car, just so that you know I've seen it. And Bram van Uyften is there in 11th place in front of Matthew Sufi, Brian Harris, Greg Franks, Ian Roots, and Stephen de Wolf in 16th. Then it's Ryan Walker in 17th, Hendrik de Graeve. Robert Lundgren, I was about to say Frederick Lundgren, but it's of course Robert Lundgren, the Swede. And Roger Morton up there in 19th at a bit of a position swapping going up, which might just undo quite a bit of what I just said before, Jack.
Yeah, I imagine it will. I was just thinking, I was like, Roger Morton, we mentioned that name a couple of times so far this evening, and he actually drives in an MX-5 series that I cover on a Tuesday night. I knew the name rang a bell, but it had been annoying me. It had been nagging away at me for this entire thing. But yeah, the safety car lights are off. That indicates we are about to go racing. So we know that the caution period lasts about 3 laps. Luckily, it's not a very long lap, so it won't be too bad. But again, actually, no, it's not again, because Daleman's actually the driver now that wants his go at starting this field. And Hasse, I'll send it over to you.
Indeed, we're on the bumper of Bart Daleman, having a look back at the rest of the field. And as we can hear, Bart is gone, and he's trying not to drag everyone with him too much. Anton Dupin's on the outside, then Kim de Heet, both of them for Flemish Sim Sports. It's not the best of runs for Bart Daleman this time around, and the field relatively squeezed in behind him as they're very much too wide, and there's jockeying for position back there. Oh, and there's Hernandez on the inside. He's lost a little bit. Oh, and there's an accident, and it's a big one this time around, I'm afraid. And I'm going to see if we can just get a look at what's going on. Oh, I'm afraid that's Ian Roots in the 46 car and Roger Morton as well. And that is a huge incident this time around. Big one, and that's the first time on this series that we've had a really big incident, and you can see many cars involved, and I will see if we can get a better look at what happened.
Yes, that's Stephen de Wolf. And by the looks of it, it's just too many cars all fighting for a little bit of positions, trying to make sure they all get to the inside. It was never all going to happen. It's just a big concertina after that. Drivers flying in everywhere. They can't be helped. Some of it maybe could be helped. But realistically, as soon as you get a car flying towards you, this is what fans love to see when they go to the real life Texas Motor Speedway. Well, we're seeing it in the virtual world here, and I think that spawns our 5th caution period. Daleman still has the lead, which means he'll get to start the race again, unless he comes in for a quick pit stop, of course. But yeah, quite a few drivers losing out there, I'd say, in the whole midfield and back end section. Well, they've unfortunately not had the best time of it.
No, that's quite unlucky indeed, as we're yet again back to yellow flags, and for the umpteenth time. The Mew, I don't know if Jonas and Martin has gone into this undercover. I doubt it might just be causing a bit of carnage. Wouldn't be surprised. Still a few cars in the pits, and here we are with the pit lane cam.
Yeah, I think Ian Roots, he did say that on the Discord to us before, obviously the boss, he came on to the Discord before and gave us a little bit of information, well, only one piece of information actually, and it's the fact that he estimates we won't get to the 130 lap mark, but he estimated that because of the tyre wear that would potentially happen to these drivers, as obviously the Texas Motor Speedway is obviously very draining on the tyres, and it really does tear away at them. So he was expecting plenty of mistakes and tyre blowouts. Probably what he wasn't expecting so much is the amount of cautions we've had due to driver error or little incidents, shall we say. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we can pick all this back up. As you can see, I think that's the 13 car trying to really race round it before he gets to the get out in front of the safety car, and he just about does, so he'll be able to potentially unlap himself.
I think it's just about the lucky dog indeed, which means that the first car, or the top running car, at least who's a lap down, gets to unlap himself and go to the back of the field and thus fight for positions. And you see there's really a few drivers being able to take advantage of such. Ian Roots is out and running as well. And really such a shame to see Ian getting involved in that one, because he was climbing, and he was just on a steady flow up through the field, doing well, and then he gets caught up in something that pretty much goes to show what I spoke about earlier, Jack, that it's just dangerous being in there behind. And with that said, I think the lights are beginning to go out, not in sim time or anything, but on the pace car. And as I just have a glance to the left there and behind the timing tower, I can see that I'm very much wrong. It's still running, and that's of course why there's still single file, and that's probably a good thing to go by, to be honest. Whenever the drivers line up double file and get ready, that's a good sign to go by. But another caution period, another chance for you to have a look and dream about you can get over at the website of our lovely sponsor, of which we have many thanks to give. It's of course Dynamixx Racing Simulators. And Flemish Sim Sports, speaking of Belgian things, are very much up there in the mix today.
They are indeed, yeah. I mean, we saw how dominant they were a couple of rounds ago, and they were always going to come back with a vengeance. Obviously, we see the team down under. They did well last week. They did well. They're doing well yet again this week. They are going 2x2 now, Hasse, which means we may be, the professor trying to fly around the outside of Hernandez there. I thought we were going to have a bit of an incident, but by the looks of it, Bart Daleman's about to get everybody back underway as the lights are back out on the safety car. And that means Daleman and Dupin are going to lead the rest of the field. Now, Daleman, he's had a practice at this. It didn't go too well for him in the first time that he dropped the hammer, but he may well have learned his lesson a little bit. I wonder if he's going to go a little bit quicker this time, try and catch everybody out. It's Sergio Hernandez with a fantastic drive away either last when he had the opportunity, but yeah, with any luck, Daleman will have a clean getaway, even if it's not the fastest. That's obviously what we're hoping for now. We want about 10, 15 laps of clean green racing here at the Texas Motor Speedway. And we're about to get going now as the 111 car of Bart Daleman is the pace car. Is he going to drop it? He's dropped it now. He gets a little bit of a better start than he did last time. Anton Dupin gets dropped. And in fact, it is a really good start from Bart Daleman. He hasn't got his lead under pressure at all. Dupin slips down the order and gives away to Kim Verhate, who's made her way back all the way up. And the 44 car on the outside has not quite fared so well, but looks like they're all getting a bit close to each other yet again in the midfield, and we're hoping they all keep it clean. The 48 and 27 cars certainly very close. Nearly 3 wide between these kind of drivers, and it's very, very close. Hopefully we keep everything clean.
Yeah, I'm trying to just keep an eye on all the stuff that's happening all the way out through the field as we have close action yet again. And gaps are minuscule as we're back to green. Tires are cold and everybody's have to really jockey to keep the car on the road. And look at that, the 3 car being kind of swamped in behind the Flemish Sim Sports 86 car. And I'm afraid that we've had a bit of an issue for Jochen Lennartz. Oh, look at that. Indeed it is Jochen Lennartz with a solo incident. No yellow flags out for him. And that's going to be very bad luck for Jochen the boss. And I think...
I think we're back to a caution.
We are. I just miscalled that one very much indeed, because we really are back to a caution. And I'm just going to see if I can catch on to what actually happened. There's Jochen Lennartz was one part of it, but I guess someone will have to have been involved with it to make it two. It takes two to tangle, and that's usually what we see with these cautions. So your predictions of 15 minutes, it didn't really go that well this time around, did it, Jack?
No, I reckon we got about 15 seconds, so we're almost there. No, it's not quite what we wanted, is it? Let's face it. But yeah, another caution period. As a few of the comments in the chat have been saying, time to whip out the Tom and Jerry cartoon until we start getting the racing back underway, because obviously we have had more caution period than we've had actual racing here tonight, unfortunately. But yeah, with any luck, everything will start getting a bit cleaner. These drivers just need to get used to putting their tyres back up to temperature. Obviously, they can't really weave because they're going side by side with each other constantly, and it's a bit tricky with a cambered track at the angle that Texas Motor Speedway is involved with. But I also think that, my own experience, as I said, was with Daytona track. It seems to be narrower, and it seems to be a bit more aggressive on the turn-in. So although, as I said before, in the build-up, everybody's just turning left constantly, it is, another sort of trait that you have to learn how to drive the track, and these cars really have to really dive into the corners here at Texas, meaning that the optimum line, everybody's diving into each other really quite hard as well, and obviously they just don't really know maybe yet how the car's going to react to input, but hopefully they'll learn that throughout the rest of this race.
Yeah, I think it's just a question of things happening so quickly indeed, and you got to keep in mind that with so many cars on such a small amount of space, it's just bound to be really, really, really hard to get it right. And I think as well we seem to be a little overly hard on oval racing sometimes, because we do get the caution period. So it really as soon as we have any incidents that involves two cars or more, we get the caution period and the yellow flag out. And just thinking, like, if you had every time you had a two car or more incident in a road race, if there was a yellow flag period to follow that, well, I think on many tracks indeed, just imagine Spa, just imagine Lime Rock Park, just imagine quite a lot of circuits. Monza, turn one at Monza is certainly also a place where we see it quite a lot. Not to mention Watkins Glen. So, and that's even with less cars in the amount of space that we have there. So as soon as they start going three wide and such, that spells trouble indeed.
Yeah, it is really difficult. As you say, in any kind of tight racing, NASCAR is one of the tightest forms of racing around the world, because, well, for 130 laps, we're asking them to go side by side within about 5 feet of each other. As you say, it's bound to happen. Even if it's somewhere like Spa, you don't get this type of close racing constantly. Sometimes they can be within 5 feet of each other, maybe once or twice a race, and we see a big incident. Well, we're asking these guys to do it for 130 laps, so it's always going to be sparking a little bit of rubbing. Unfortunately, when you're angled at a 20-degree angle, which Texas Motor Speedway's corners are, a rubbing equals accidents, and whether the tyres are warm or not, basically, a little touch here, a little touch there can end up spiralling a few drivers into the wall and collect a whole host of other drivers. But, it is what it is. It's what we come here to do. The drivers are lining up 2 by 2. I'm going to say it again. I'm hoping we get about 10 to 15 laps worth of green running. That will be my hope for Hasse. We certainly weren't expecting this at the beginning of the broadcast. But, with any luck, we've got another 80 laps to go. Let's hope they can be really high class.
Yes, indeed. And I will just take this chance to welcome everyone joining in, who's joined after the start of this broadcast. We're back from our, what I believe is the 6th caution period. 51 minutes into the race. On lap 50, we'll see whether we get to the 90-minute marker or the 130 laps first. It's Bart Dalman yet again. Not a lot of change there at the front of the field, except for some of the front runners from before making their way up there, and expect them to be in the mix very shortly indeed. As the pace car peels off, it's Bart Dalman controlling the field, and he's gone, and he's gone just before the light. Kim Behait gets a very good run on the start, and he's right on the tail of the leader. He's up the inside of his teammate. He's going to take second place, I think. It only depends whether he's really going to hold off. Look at that, actually, from Dupin there, putting it on the outside of the leading car. That through turn 1, that's very impressive indeed. And now they're hustling down towards turn 2. And let's just see that 3 wide into it as well. Will they survive this one? It's the 3 car making it wonky. And really, the boogity is on for real. As it's double 3 wide. And they all making it just as I say that. Kim Behane is it. And that's Hernandez as well. Oh, a big one.
That is absolutely huge. We made it about 2 or 3 corners, and I was about to say this is exactly what we wanted to see. 3, 4 wide between the top front runners, but Kim Behane ends up heading into the wall after a little bit of contact. I'm not sure who it was contact with will be able to catch that. Hernandez just absolutely had nowhere to go. It's the 86 of Kim Behane with the 477 car. Oh, they've gone down the order as well. By the looks of it, I can't quite see Frederick Van Ekkenhoven. And yeah, the firecracker looks like there was a little bit of contact. Not necessarily anybody's fault, I'd say, but a big unfortunate moment for all these drivers involved.
Huge incident indeed. And look at that car. Kim Behane, several cars blowing out smoke like they were steam engines from the 1920s. Huge puffs from the rears of those machines. They will be needing immediate repairs. And let's see whether anyone pits in this time around. Bart Daleman goes in. And I think a few of the drivers further down, of course, a few cars coming in for needed repairs. But very, very unfortunate indeed, Jack, because just as it was looking good, they started going double 3 wide. And as I kind of mentioned before, once you see that on a track as narrow as this, comparatively a narrow oval track, it's just going to be really, really, really hard to find the space that you need to get your car through.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, we mentioned a couple of times now, Hasse, it's just the nature of going so close for so long with so many drivers. I mean, we only got 2 corners there, but as soon as you put them, I don't know, I'd say about 7 cars within half a tenth of each other, it's going to spark off something. And I thought they were going to get away with it. I honestly did. I thought they were going to break it all up, make sure that people were getting back into the race, but unfortunately it wasn't the way. It didn't pan out like that, but we have got a few drivers. Gregory Vrantz, come out of the looks of it, absolutely pacing it around, taking advantage of the fact that the safety car is out, going in for a little quick pit stop, or maybe he was the lucky dog. I'm not too sure, but whatever he's doing, he's catching up to the back of the field, and he'll be hoping for opportunity to make their way through. A couple of drivers on the apron now on the inside as well. That's what you got to do when you're going slowly around this circuit. In fact, no, they're jumping into the pits. So that is how short this lap is. From this blimp view, you can actually see it all pan out within about 20 seconds.
Yeah, indeed, but it's quite incredible what we see here. Look at this, Ian Roots having taken his fast repair in the 46 machine. He's in 8th place after having been involved in a major incident not too long ago. Just goes to show that the fast repairs can very much keep you alive, at least for a bit of time, when mixed with the caution periods. And that's something we really like to see here, because it gives us a chance to keep a few more souls in contention, and it also gives us the chance to see some incredible comebacks. And actually we were close to seeing one last week. That was Brian Harris behind the wheel of that. He might still very much come back. By the way, don't discount him at all. But Ian Roots, who started, remind you, he started dead last in the field, and he's now in 8th place. He's jumped up 25 positions, and he's an experienced cat with this. He's done quite a lot of oval racing, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the sneaky old buzz up there come the end of this race. But it's atrocious at the moment. It seems to be more a question of luck than skill. And I know that Porsche Sports said this is Talladega Nights. We're not going to have Murray Walker quotations going on, but I'll do it anyways. It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And Ian Roots is just that. I don't think you climb up the field through that amount of cars and at that rate without having some skill to it. Anyway, Jack, they are back to double file. The pace car lights is out. It's going to peel off as we get to the pit lane. And I'm losing track here, but I think it's your turn to talk him into it back again as they go green and boogie.
Yeah, this way it will we'll all just get a bit mixed up. I think it's our 7th or 8th attempt at this, but Anton Dupin is at top of the order, the Flemish Sim Sport car now, so it's going to be his turn to let the hammer drop and make his way through. Stephen Clays is in second place in the brightly coloured number 3 car on the left-hand side on the outside. Kennedy Nywolf, a leader for a large majority of the early stages of this race, the first 10-15 laps. They're still in it. They're in 3rd place. You can see him in the background there. And there goes Anton Dupin. He's dropped it, and he's dropped everyone. What a start by Dupin. And Nywolf gets pushed onto the grass by Clays. He's not having it his own way. It looks like there's going to be even more rubbing his waist in. And there's a bit of a shake in the background there by Nywolf. And yeah, Clays has got that position. He almost bullied the other driver out of it. But Dupin, wow, start.
Very, very good start this time around from Anton Dupin indeed, and he's dropped the rest of them, and if he hasn't dropped them, I mean, do you think they'd be coming back at him with the slipstream? But Lawrence Clothes there in the 32 car will up the field as well, but certainly a good start indeed. Steve Clays is now on the inside of Kenzie Newhoff, and he's got a bit of damage, and Newhoff just cuts ahead. Brave move from Kenzie Newhoff. And Steve Clays finding himself the victim of it. And up ahead it's still Anton Dupin. It's Newhoff, Clays, Stickerive, it's Professor Cortel. And Lawrence Clothes, as we saw before, he's up into 6th place. Lawrence leaving up the big, on the 565 machine. And then Ian Roots, but Kenzie Newhoff now coming up on the inside of Anton Dupin. And he's taking the lead. And I think Dupin just ever so slightly missing the apex there. They might just be under threat from Steve Clays in behind as he's looking for the apex. And is he going to be able to sneak the nose in there? He's sliding left and right. And it's Hendrik de Graaf, the teammate of Anton Dupin for Flemish Sim Sports, very much in the mix as well. And he won't be trying to help out the competitor in any way. No bump drafting here.
No, absolutely not. Hendrik de Graaf in 3rd place then. He's taken over from Dupin as the leading Flemish Sim Sport driver. In the background here, we can see Sergio Hernandez. He qualified on pole position. He won last time out in round 1 of the SRW NASCAR Series. But by the looks of it, well, he's all the way down to 16th position. I reckon that's not bad considering he got tangled big time in an earlier incident that caused the last caution that we saw. You can see just how much the cars move around from this onboard view. Not only in the driver input that were on board with Hernandez, but the cars in front as well. And no wonder they end up having a bit of having big accidents, really, because as soon as the car gets a bit unsettled, they could only be about 2 or 3 cars. And there we go, number 18 car goes a little bit of a hit. Is he going to be able to save that one? The number 5 and 18 car of Thies van den Berg and Stuart Musselwhite, by the looks of it, he saved it, so no caution period, good car control. That's exactly what I was talking about, Hasse. Just a little bit too tight between them, a little bit of a movement of the car, and ended up almost with a big accident.
Yeah, indeed, and it was quite incredible to see Stuart Musselwhite keeping that. Just look at this, we just get another view as he's, nice, drifting there. And that was more akin to something you'd see in an anime cartoon than something pulled out of something very close to real life, indeed. And they're still going. I was just saw that, expecting it to be a yellow flag, but it very much isn't. And here is Bram van Aerten. He's moving up on the inside as Ian Roots is losing a few positions, finding himself stuck there on the outside. And not much to do there. He just accepts his face for now. Kenzie Newhoff ahead of Steve Clays now, and then Hendrik de Graaf there in 3rd. Pablo Cortel in 4th place. Anton Dupin. And then it's Lawrence Clothes leaving up the big. Bram van Aerten, Kobe Klaas, and Gregory Franks for Simracersworld Esports. So we are fifth.
Yeah, they're doing well. Nywolf, actually, I'm just having a look. He's got a gap of half a second, and considering he made his way up, it wasn't like he dropped them at the start of the caution. The fact that, he overtook them and now has a 6/10 gap is absolutely mega by the lead car at the moment. This is obviously Craig Jones up the inside of Adam Wright. Adam Wright on the outside there. Luckily, no contact, no harm done so far. And this may well be, touch wood, commentator's curse potentially, the longest we've had of actual green racing. So, I'm sorry, Hasse, I'll be quiet. You go, sorry.
Have you no manners, gentlemen? Oh my God. Oh, and look at that, the closeness between the 888 car and the 27 car there of Adam Wright. I'm sorry, all jokes aside, it is indeed the longest period of green flag running we've seen in quite a while, and let's hope that it goes on. The drivers seem to be in a much better rhythm now here as Brian Harris and Ian Roots is very much going at it here. Ian Roots is down into 14th place. I think his tires a little bit more wear to them than many of the drivers around him, which would explain how he gained all those positions, but it would also explain just how he's losing them right about now, because it's so difficult to keep these Cup cars under control. Oh, and he's under pressure there from the 5 car of Thijs van den Bergen, the Belgian driver. And up ahead, Anton Dupin seems to be in the very same position. He's now on the tail of Bram van Uyften, who seems to be at a very good pace. He's hunting down Lawrence Klootz up ahead, and in the lead for Team Down Under, Jack, it's still Kenzie Newhoff, and it's now by almost 1.4 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely crazy, but as you said, his tyres are probably a lot fresher than anybody else's, or anybody who started up ahead of him anyway, and obviously he was they were the highest placed pitted car pretty much, as they've led a fair whack of this race so far earlier on in the running. It was no surprise to see them move up the order as much as they can, but it is a big surprise to see the gap. And it's still pulling out the gap as well. These drivers, De Graeve and Cortel, they're using slipstream. Their cars are physically going faster than Nijhoff, but for some reason they're just not gaining. I mean, obviously they're not going physically faster, but they should be able to during the tow. Up on the inside goes the Professor. He's going to force De Graeve out wide. No, he's not. He's tucked back in. These guys really need to work together. Maybe jump in, hope for a caution period potentially. Jump in, get their tyres off and get some new tyres on, because Nijhoff, he's 2 seconds in the lead now. It's far too far gone already.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's a gamble, and once you see all these caution periods, you think, oh well, it's not going to be 10 minutes until we see the next one, and I might just skip this tire switch and go for the next one as they go 3 wide here, and that's for what, 5th place. It's Hernandez on the inside. It's Van Uyften as well, and the 477 car of Frederik van Eekhoven very much involved in this one. So it's 6th, 7th, and 8th place, I'm sorry. And Van Eekhoven still trying to get the better of Bram van Uyften there in the radioactive 284 machine. A bit of a strategy there from Bram, maybe to keep other cars away. Oh, and then a bit of a blink just, I just got afraid, because last time we saw that was actually yesterday. When I was broadcasting, and when that happened, that was the lead car having a PC crash. So I was just afraid that was happening for Frederick or whoever we were on there. Good move there from Sergio Hernandez to bring himself well clear of the 2 competitors who are still very much locked into it. And they managed to get out of that 3 wide situation alive. And meanwhile, all this is happening. Kenzie Newhoff, for the first time I think this series, a driver has a more than 2 seconds gap. Mind you, oval racing, 2 seconds is a huge advantage down to Hendrik de Graeve, and this time around it's Professor Cortel on the inside, and there's going to be no defending that from Hendrik de Graeve in the 87 car there, Jack.
No defending that at all. He may well be able to come back at him, because obviously he's got the slipstream himself now. It depends if he's really keen on doing that though, whether he just uses the slipstream, make sure he's maybe saving a bit of fuel, but saving a bit of tyres, chilling out basically, cooling everything down, and then going for the attack. Or if he just wants to try and get into 2nd place as soon as possible and be the head of the field. It's one of those two, that's for sure. We'll see how aggressive he is now he's back under the hood of the 83 car basically.
Yes, indeed, and I'm just trying to figure out just how loud my mic was before, because I incidentally hit the volume slider and it turned it all the way up, and I had to mute myself quickly because I was like, oh damn, that's going to be very loud. I hope it's okay if I'm loud as hell and I need to be turned down, or otherwise if I'm a little low boy all of a sudden. Tell me. Indeed, Mew, some very exciting racing going on here, and this is what we were hoping for. It's leaving up the big now, pressuring. No, it's the other way around. That's, of course, Sergio Hernandez in the 19 machine. That's one car we should be able to recognize by now. And Hernandez is spending not a minute too long, not a second too long, as he moves on up the inside of leaving up the beak to take that position. It's up into 5th place for him, and I think he's just going to open the door for Frederik van Eekhoven. The firecracker is moving on up as well. And in behind, Gregory Franks is doing a damn good job of making short progress. of short process, it's called, of Bram van Eyften.
Yeah, very well indeed. Having a look down the order, some of the biggest movers and shakers so far. 21 places gained, leaving Op de Beek and looking as well. Ian Roots to 21 places as well. So although he slipped down the order from his top 10 position that he was holding before, it looks like he is still tying for the Forever Forward award if we did have such a thing in this NASCAR series. But it's always worth shouting out drivers who make the most positions from their starting positions, because obviously it shows that they're having a really good race. Speaking of really good races, Steve Clays has got Frederick Van Beckhoven as well just behind him. He could end up falling down a little bit more here because he's got leaving up the Beak as well. Really struggling to maybe get the speed out of the car that he wants now. You can see a little bit of damage on the front right. Maybe he's just a touch kilometres or two down. Is that a car that's in half as well in the front there? I can see his undercarriage.
A car in half?
No, it doesn't matter. It was just the fact that you could see the light underneath the car. It doesn't matter. Sorry, Hasse, carry on.
Have you lost your mind? A car in half? That sounds.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
Oh, that's very much all right. But I just, oh my word! And how come if we have a car and a half that the yellow flag hasn't come out? Sprung to mind as well. There was Steve Clays very much battling with leaving up the bank, and I think he's trying to just move and muscle his way around on the outside, and with success. So he does indeed. And Bram van Eyften, speaking of drivers who made their way up through the field, he has moved up a substantial number of places as well. 16 positions he's gained. Hernandez, by the way, yes, up into third place now, and he's leaving the drivers in behind, in his wake. He knows now is the time to make a move and get a move on. And you can just see the cream rise to the top at the moment, Jack, because our top three, Kenzie Newhoff, Pablo Cortel, and Sergio Hernandez as well, certainly seems to be in for the win.
Yeah, well, the other drivers as well, all in the top five, basically, all of the top five, are really, they haven't moved too far away from their starting positions. And considering the amount of cautions and crashes we've had, that shows how consistent they've been, really. They managed to get themselves back to the front, even though they maybe, had a few incidents beforehand. But yeah, we'll probably be able to give you a full rundown of the order soon, as well, as we're about to hit an hour, so half an hour left. Lap 80 out of 130, whichever one comes first. Oh, in fact, actually, we'll leave the rundown of the order in a minute, because it looks a bit Brian Harris. He's trying to attack, leaving up the beat, but Bram Van Eyften, and Gregory Vance are all getting a bit shaky and stirry here as they try and attack each other. Looks at the 284 car of Van Eyften is up the inside. Vance is trying his best to make sure that he's going to have that place, but it's going to be very difficult. Vance gets his nose ahead, and the 99 car is the one in the driver's seat in terms of attacking the drivers up ahead.
Yeah, indeed. Here's John Tusting moving up as well as he sneaks up the inside of the 33 car. Of course, it's John Tusting for Quantum Racing in the good-looking 999 machine. And he is in a tightly contested spot at the moment in behind... who's that up ahead? Bram van Eyften, Greg Franks, and the 6 cars up ahead, but he must be lap. And indeed, look at that! Kenzie Newhoff's gap is absolutely melting away at the moment. And so must his tires be, I'm thinking. Pablo Cortel with an absolute blast about him. And it's a second and a half down to Sergio Hernandez. And this race is really heating up, and we've got a yellow flag again. We have got another yellow flag, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I can't quite see who it is. I think we're having a look at Fredericks at the moment. As he comes around, it's not him. We've missed this one of the timing tower, I'm afraid, folks. So there it is. And just up ahead, we'll be able to figure that one out.
That's Brian Harris. That's Brian Harris. That's Brian
Kobe Class
Harris.
and Brian Harris. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
So here it is. It's Brian Harris. Oh, gets tapped on the rear. And he actually, look at that. He actually manages to, and he gets T-boned by, I think that was that was indeed the car of Kobe Class. Oh, that's such poor luck for Brian Harris. He actually managed to keep his car alive for so long. And I'm just going to have another look at this, because look at this, Jack. He gets a touch. There he comes. Oh, so it's the Flemish Sim Sports car losing it as he touches the wall. Brian Harris is the one who pays. He locks the brakes. Those tires are going to be absolutely dead. Look at that. He's even got it into reverse gear. And if that's with a stick shift, that is rather impressive. It pulls him back upon the track. The 33 car seems to be in two minds of whether which way to go and no control in the situation. He's just a passenger. Plows on right into the car of Brian Harris. Such bad luck indeed. And this time around, we're going to see a big old pit stop round indeed.
Yeah, I think that was the 87 car of Hendrik de Graeve. He just touched the outside of the track and ends up spitting him back towards the centre. That's why he ended up making contact with Brian Harris. Everybody's flooded into the pits now, so everybody will be on fresh new tyres. So basically what you'll see is what you'll get in terms of the actual sort of race when we drop the caution, because I reckon there's been enough time under green flag conditions for everybody to use quite a substantial amount of not only their fuel but their tyres as well. So Sergio Hernandez is the driver out ahead yet again. Nijhoff is in second place, Pablo Cortel in third. So they've had a bit of a switch around, but it's still the top three remaining where they were.
Yes, it is. And I think not surprised to see pretty much everyone come in. But for quite some time, it's been some of the drivers that started lower down on the order that's been quite far up towards the front of the running. But coming into the final 30 minutes of racing, it seems to me that it's more or less the drivers that actually started up at the front of the field that's getting back into the interesting end of things. Here's Brian Harris, and that looks like he does not have a fast repair to throw in the mix. And that's poor luck for him, as well as Bart de Vos, who's at the head of the field. He's a lap down. So it's, of course, Hernandez, Newhoff, Cortel, and Van Eekhoven, the front four that are right behind him. And then the entire field and the running order, as it should be. Still lights on for the pace car. And I've managed to teach myself not to call it the safety car all the time. Again, it seems to just be another slightly European thing to call it. But it's, of course, the pace car. And the only safety thing they have in all the racing, Jack, that I've seen at least, is the big old safety truck that we sometimes see.
Well, I've learned something there, to be fair. I didn't know it was called the pace car, so I will try and teach myself that as well. But it is an interesting point that you made before about one of the drivers not having any kind of fast repair left. So they must only have one or two. I think they have two allowed for this series. And that's going to be really important now, isn't it? Because a couple of drivers who have used their fast repairs, they're now out of it, basically. If they have another crash or something, they've got a real big problem. And on the chat, actually, came on Matteo Sufi. He's down in 30th position at the moment. Well, that's because apparently he came in to do his first pit stop and his quick repair didn't work. His fast repair didn't work at all. So he had 30 minutes of repairs to do. And he's back out now, I believe. But that's why he's all the way down the order.
Yeah, indeed. We got an apology from Christoph for jinxing it. He was under the impression that he might have been the cause of an incident. But the only causes of incidents, as you know it, will be us in the booth, bestowing our curse left, right, and center without really knowing it ourselves. Any D&D players will know what I'm talking about if I say that we're a bit like wild mages. Magic happens, but it's a bit on the side as well. Anyways, enough of that. Sergio Hernandez this time around is getting ready to start the field, and he goes early. You can see how tightly, closely bunched up they were just before green. And this time around, I'm just going to see if I can get a little bit of a wider shot there. Yes, that's perfect, as the field is very close. We don't want to have a too zoomed in view. We want to be able to see what's happening as they come down through turn one. It's a very good run from Hernandez, leading Cortel, Newhoff, Van Eekhoven. It's Steve Clays leaving up the lead, then Frank de Graeve, Van Hoefden, and Ian Roots now up into 10th place.
Yeah, great restart by Sergio Hernandez, much better than his earlier one, and he's got a little bit of a gap now. Cortel's jumped Kenzie Nijhoff, but that sure will probably be switched around sooner rather than later, and switched around again, because that is the nature of NASCAR racing. So Hernandez really doing well, but he's only 2 tenths up the road. That's going to be absolutely whittled away sooner or later. Steve Clay's here. He's got another little battle on his hand. There we go. Cortel's already under pressure in for second place. I tell you what, Frederick Van der Eck, well, the firecracker, I'll just call him, in 4th place. He's really doing well to keep with these top drivers, and he could be having a sniff out of the race victory if everything goes his way. Obviously, it's probably a bit early to call that because everybody's been crashing left, right, and centre. But you know, he's doing brilliantly well up to 3rd place, up to 4th place now.
Yeah, indeed. I wish shouldn't say too much. The last green flag period we had were also the longest in the race. We saw some really good running here. Anthony Pound gets a slow run, and the 999 machine of John Tustin gets through on the outside. On his inside, or on the low side, is Lawrence Klutz, but he's behind now, and he gets back up. A good run there on John Tustin, perhaps the side draft assisting him ever so slightly. Is up ahead. They're still very, very close here with Cortel on the inside. It's Kenzie Newhoff on the outside. Doesn't seem to be the place to be around this particular track. Perhaps something to do with the kind of tarmac, and if you're not on the apex, you just seem to lose speed, whereas other tracks seem to have a bit of an advantage speed-wise being on the outside there, but it's very close yet again as Cortel tries to hold on as Hernandez leading. We've got 22 minutes or so left, but also just under 40 laps as well. So if we got a green flag all the way to the end, I'm just saying, I think we'll reach the lap end before the time, but let's just see here. That's a very brave move from Newhoff to take it around the outside there. The 62 machine really putting his life on the line, or his virtual life that is on the least, but you get to feel it that way at least there. The 83 car of Pablo Cortel is really holding on the 3 car, getting you hungry for chocolate. It's the Eminence machine in behind, really wanting to get involved. And as you said before, Frederick Firecracker is very much in the mix as well. He seems to be carrying a rather patient approach at the moment, and here in behind is Gregory Franks now with Bram van Uyften on his wheel. I was about to say I don't think it's actually called that in motor racing, but you know what I mean. A good old cycling fan like myself, on the bumper you could say. Van Uyften though, by the way, in 8th place. It's leaving up the big in behind, who's done a really good race actually so far. It's been there or thereabouts for so much of it. And up there ahead, oh, Kenzie Newhoff on the outside is going for the lead here, but I don't think he's going to keep it, but he's building the run. Laps over laps now, and they're going to be side by side with Cortel, the professor, indeed trying just to sneak up. He gets a good run indeed. Oh, and this is getting dangerous. This is the time when they have to really watch out. This is the top runners indeed, and it will be heartbreak if any of them gets anything wrong with these minuscule margins at the moment, Jack.
Yeah, but this is exactly what we wanted to see from SRW NASCAR Series. A group of drivers like these 3 right at the front, trying to go bumper to bumper, nose to tail for the entirety. Newhoff has just jumped back into 3rd place to maybe use a little bit of the toe, maybe save some fuel, save some tyres, overheating the tyres potentially, because that is all things you can feel in iRacing, and obviously you can get data as well if you want about how hot your tyres are getting. Hernandez's tyres, I'm sure, will be absolutely screaming at him, but Cortel, he's been really cool, calm and collected. He's just been hunkered up behind Hernandez. He didn't try and take the race to Newhoff. He's just up the backside, happy to sit in 2nd for now. A bit like you were saying, the Firecracker, he's up to 4th place now with Steve Clays. They were doing a little bit more patient, but these 3 drivers really pulling away, showing their class, showing exactly how you drive around an oval.
Yeah, indeed, it's heating up and getting better and better as the race goes on here. And this time around, we're really getting something for our money's worth, aren't we? With the racing here at the head of the field. It's Lucky Dogs leading S2V and Team Down Under, as we had last week, very much in contention as well. Although not with all 3 cars this week, I'm afraid. But brilliant stuff indeed, as Kenzie Newhoff is just trying to build the run. Then again, we saw a week ago just how important it is to keep the tires alive and well for as long as possible when you get these extended green flag periods, because all of a sudden you find yourself pushing too hard for only a handful of laps, and you might have pushed the tires over the edge. You'll find yourself on the receiving end big time here. It's Hendrik de Graven now getting on the outside, or trying to find some space on the outside of Steve Gleiss's car, but not really finding a way yet. And I think Bram van Uyften in behind might just be the car to really gain for it, as leaving up the big is throwing one up the inside. And they're going 3 wide here. I think that is into turn 2. Up the big, gaining 2 positions from Bram van Uyften, having absolutely none of it, as he basically just let those through, I think, and saying, oh, I want to stay alive. I want to get home to my wife and kids and have dinner tonight as well. Or if he hadn't already, just realizing that it's actually 20 minutes past 10 Central European time. So I expect most of the drivers, even the Brits, will have had their dinner a long time ago. But you get the point, you get the picture. John Tusting is here as well in the 999 machine jack, and he's fighting. And I think a lot of the drivers are at the moment.
Yeah, they're all hoping to maybe crack towards the top 10. Ian Roots is in 9th at the moment, with Van Uyften in the top 10. Anton Dupin, we saw him quite far up the order earlier on. Ended up falling away. I think his tyres are really hurting him. The Frederick, the Firecracker Van Ekhoven. He's in 3rd place, and that means that Nijwolf has actually dropped down to 4th. So a big change in the order here. The 62 car must have had a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a problem, but maybe he just had to maybe come off the throttle a little bit more, maybe pace saving. The tyre's still a bit too hot, and that gave Frederick the opportunity to maybe push forward, push his car a little bit harder, and take the opportunity up the inside there. The 62 car looks like he just let them go.
Yeah, indeed, and it seemed to me like it was a product of having gotten a bad run from a previous corner exit. So it's now Hernandez leading Cortel, and that means it's 2 Spaniards with a bunch of Belgians chasing them, and then Ian Roots in 9th place. I'll have to be uncertain about whether Kensinuov is actually Dutch or Belgian, and I'll say as much as it's one of them at least. I'll leave my old hat on that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Belgians dominate the field really in this entry. A couple of Brits, a couple of Scandinavians, but the Belgians are really dominating the field, and I think they've half the grid are Belgians. So if you get a guess one of them is Belgian, you're probably going to have a good guess, to be honest. But here is Tusting in 12th place, and Musselwhite going side by side, really wide. There goes Musselwhite, and that lets Anton Dupin go inside as well. And Klutz is looking to try and get involved in the flaming car there. That must take off 2 seconds a lap. The fact he's got fire on his car on the livery. But these cars really for the top 15 positions are really close, having a great race of their own. And we're back to Pablo Cortel, who's trying to track down Sergio Hernandez, but now the Firecracker Frederick in 3rd place, and Nijwolf is actually dropped back quite far away.
Yeah, both Kenzie Newhoff has lost quite a substantial amount of time, and the same goes for every car in behind, basically, because it's another 1.5 seconds down to Steve Claes and Hendrik de Grave and Greg Franks as well. And this, I think, is the product of tire management. We saw last week that Sergio Hernandez was just on a little bit better than everyone else in conserving the tires, just while going quickly as well. We also saw Kenzie Newhoff really pushing hard early in this stint, early in this green flag period, and as such, I think he's paying the price for that right about now. And we're coming into an interesting situation here with 24, 25 left to go, and 15 minutes. So it's going to be on whether we get one caution period or not. It's going to be very close, at least, to the 90 minutes if we do get to run every lap of this race. And I'm not quite sure that all the drivers are actually able to go to the line without pitting in here. So many things in play at the moment, and it can really swing in many directions as well. Here further down the order is Ian Roots, having fought his way up into 9th place and doing very well to put some pressure onto the rear end of leaving up the big. And I think, look at the pace difference there for Ian Roots. He must be able to build the run. He must be able to get a gap. And I think he will have to go for it now. He looks to the inside. He puts the nose in there. And leaving up the big, I think, just has to surrender the position without too much of a kerfuffle, because Ian Roots is very much there and seems to have the faster car at the moment. And yes, from I'm sorry, do go on, Jack.
I was just about to say, in routes, he has gained 25 positions. He started 33rd, as we mentioned before. He's up to 8th, and that is fantastic running by him. Here is Ivan Opdebik actually going back through by the looks of it. So Ian Root's now back down to 9th, and in fact, he may well be going down to 10th. So because the commentator might be striking our boss here. Hopefully he doesn't take me off this series because of it. But yeah, he's still done a great job, and obviously he was the one who really wanted to push for this series. So I'm sure, hopefully, above all, him and the rest of the field are enjoying it more than anything else. Lord Klutz and Stuart Musselwhite look like they're enjoying it because they've been fighting for the past couple of laps. Anton Tupan and Adam Wright as well. So these drivers in the back of the field, or sort of back half of the field, are really still going strong. And I'm glad to say as well that everybody, first the commentator, I'll say it quietly, Hasse, that everybody seems to have calmed down a touch, which is always very nice to see, and the fact that we've had about 30 laps unencumbered.
Yes, very much so. And with just 20 laps of racing left and 12 minutes on the board to get it done in. 20 laps, by the way, is going to be just under 10 minutes in the end. So if they keep it clean, they're going to see the checkered flag indeed as a result of having done 130 laps in an hour and a half. So close stuff indeed. And it... the 5-6 car is going to lose 2 positions. But look at this, and I thought this before when I was looking at these 3 drivers. I don't think they're necessarily battling too hard against one another at the moment. It seems to me that whenever they get to a corner and the car in front of this 3-way pack has another car really close to it, it just swings on by to the outside. So they kind of lend the draft to one another and then swing off to kind of help one another as well, and maybe just to try and save a little extra fuel. And it seems, look at this, John Tusting, he goes to the outside, he goes quite wide. Actually, now there's a gap developing down to Ian Root, so just as I say that, I might just be proven wrong as well. And that is the life of a commentator. You have to be prepared for such. Oh, Hendrik de Grave is also under pressure from, well, another Flemishman indeed, that is Gregory Franks. Oh, they have to be careful with that one, Franks. Oh, I'm sorry for cutting you off there, Jack, but I just see the overlap was there as Hendrik was just squeezing Greg Franks there a little bit. Franks held off now. He's coming back with a vengeance, and you had something to say there.
No, I'm glad you actually cut in there because I was actually looking at my timing towers, so the fact that I would have missed that little bit of action between the 99 and 87 car, Franks and de Grave. But de Grave, obviously, he's been in the wars a little bit. Obviously, he ended up coming back on and causing a big incident earlier on. So he's another driver that's fought his way back up the order. As a lot of these guys, you said it before, the cream always rises. And by the looks of it, especially in Sergio Hernandez, we've definitely found a good set of drivers for some oval action because these guys are really pushing the cars to the limit, but also making sure that there's sort of everything is, the car is going to hold together. And we saw these drivers around Ian Root's, man, that top 10, Tusting, Roots and Opdebik. They're really sort of measuring the cars, almost letting each other through, as you said, Hasse. And I think that's because, realistically, it's going to be very, very tight to see whether we actually can get the cars to the finish without having to pit in. Obviously, if you pit in while everything's under green flag conditions, you'll lose an awful amount of time. Potentially even a lap. So it's going to be essential if you can save the fuel in the tyres and make it to the very end. That's going to be essential, really. It
is a good point being made from Adrian in chat that Sergio Hernandez is absolutely flying at the moment, and well, he absolutely is. Just posting the link to our live timing page if anyone feels the need for the use of such. And we're gonna go back. That's 1.34 seconds down to Pablo Cortal. Van Eekhoven there, half a second down on here, and then Kenzie Nieuwhof quite a bit of way down on the cars ahead. So it seems to me that it's settling down, and unless we get something unexpected here at the very end of things, it's looking very good for Sergio Hernandez at the moment.
Yeah, well, I don't like to say it too often because we've had an awful lot of them, but a caution period in the next 5 laps would be very, very interesting because obviously it would bring everyone back under, and every NASCAR I've ever watched, in real life as well, it's always gone down to the last 2 laps, which is really what fans like to see and spectators like to see. Whether or not the Hernandez would go for that is probably a different matter. He's probably quite happy with the 1.3 second lead, but maybe Cortel's just monitoring that gap before he really puts his foot to the floor for the last 5 laps and really guns for the man at the front.
Well, speaking of putting your foot to the floor, John Tusting has gone for an absolute charge over the last 10 minutes or so. He's up into 6th place, and he seems to be carrying some very, very good pace about him at the moment. And his last lap time, a 30.3, so it's faster than the 2 cars ahead of him as well. So he might be gunning for even better positions, even though he's looking at a little bit of a gap. But mind you, the cars ahead are not really battling anymore, and that was really going to be the ticket back for John Tusting if the cars up ahead would be really getting in close and fighting for position. There is time to be gained on anyone doing just a little bit. This here, Lawrence Klotz and Bram van Hoeften. That's the fight for 11th place, and Stuart Musselwhite very much getting involved in there as well in the 18 machine. Up ahead of these, there is a close fight as well, as Ian Roots is now getting up to the rear end of the 87 Flemish Sim Sports car. And by the looks of things, it's going to be able to push on past. And he'll want to do so relatively quickly because there is 9 laps left and had less than or just about half a minute per lap. That looks to be sort of 4.5 minutes or so. So we're at the very sharp end of things. The gap between Hernandez and Cortel has now grown to 1.6 seconds. So he's looking very, very good at the moment. And likewise, the gap between Cortel and Van Eekhoven in 3rd is now up to a 2nd. So the front runners really beginning to settle in here at the sharp end of this race. And this is the battle yet again for 7th place.
Yeah, Frederik Van Eekhoven, he's flying the flag for Team Down Under by the looks of it, and he's up to 3rd place with Newhoff in 4th, not really able to get through, but Ian Roots is able to get through by the looks of it against Hendrik de Grave. He's on a bit of a charge up to 8th place yet again. These drivers really enjoying themselves. This is the closest battle, but after all, on the circuit at the moment. Just another shout as well. We've had 33 drivers start the race. And I believe Bart de Vos in 26 is currently our last place runner. So we've had a fair few retirements, about 6-7 retirements, but hopefully everyone's enjoyed themselves and be back for next week. Because, well, we've certainly enjoyed it, haven't we, Hasse?
Indeed, it's been good racing as we come to expect by now, even just 2 rounds into the SRW Dynamixx NASCAR Winter Series. But it has indeed been really good, and especially since the drivers really got into the flow of things here at the Texas Motor Speedway, we've really seen some close action developing. And still gotta be honest with you, I think the explanation between a number of the growing gaps around the field could be that some of the drivers are finding that they really have to save fuel here to make it to the line, and knowing that they cannot go for a pit stop without losing everything they've worked so hard to achieve over the last hour and a half.
Yeah, well, you might want to tell Sergio Hernandez that, because I think he's one of the few drivers that has decided to just keep his foot pinned to the floor. It's the only explanation I can give to the fact that he's able to pull out a 2-second gap away from Pablo Cortel, who obviously is no slow couch. So, yeah, with any luck, he'll be able to save his tyres and save his fuel. I'm sure he's done all the maths in his head. If not, he's got a bit of a crew chief in his ear or something like that. But, yeah, a 2.2 second gap at this time of the evening. 4 laps to go. That's only about 2 minutes, actually, isn't it? So we are very... I didn't even realise it was that close to the end. I was quite getting into the race, but it's almost about to end.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's how it is when the race gets... it's an abrupt kind of nature of many oval races, and it's very much different than what we're used to, but now it's a little bit more homely here, as I think Kenzie Newhoff finds that Steve Claes is wanting his track position. He's been losing, and he's been losing out big time over this final stint. And look at it, car just doesn't want to turn in, and oh, they almost make contact, and now Steve Claes really has to show that he's mastering the minuscule inputs of the NASCAR machine, and he very much so does. The Cup car in full control there as he got close, but not too close to the rear end of Kenzie Newhoff. but close enough to get me scared. Ian Roots is in 8th place. He's still fighting Gregory Franks. Was that actually Greg Franks' teammate before it very much was?
It was Hendrik de Grave last time, who's dropped down behind Kobe Klass now. So Ian Roots has dropped him quite hard. And back to Kenzie Newhoff. And he's really got a problem with Steve Clays, as you were saying before. Hasse, John Tusting actually is within sniffing distance as well. So I think Newhoff will be quite pleased the fact that we're on to the penultimate lap of the race.
Yeah, that's really gonna help him out. Oh yeah, bad luck for Brian Harris for the 2nd consecutive week, and I hope that third time is gonna be the charm for you, mate, because certainly got the pace to be up there in the running for top spots. For that's of course for Volante Racing. Now Kenzie Newhoff under pressure from Steve Claes, who dives towards the inside, but mind you, Steve Claes' car has a little bit of damage, and I think that's what making it really hard for him to get around. As we're onto the final lap here, It's a white flag, and just as we reach the final lap, Sergio Hernandez reaches traffic. He's got a second, 1.7 seconds, mind you, and he will have a comfortable cushion of just being able to slowly but steadily work his way through here, as I think there are close battles going in behind. But we have to see the leader as he goes across the line to take win number 2 from the SRW Dynamixx NASCAR Winter Series. Sergio Hernandez takes it in front of Cortel Frederik van Eekhoven, the firecracker, in 3rd. Kenzie Newhoff goes home for 4th place. And then right in front of Steve Claes, actually, so that was good for him. John Tusting gets 6th. And then Kobe Claes, Ian Roots in 8th. Greg Franks 9th, Bram van Uiften, and on they go as they all cross the line here. Oh, good race in the end.
Yeah, I'm really glad they managed to get into a rhythm of the circuit. I was a bit fearful when we were about 80 laps in and we'd had about 8 or 10 safety cars, pace cars, shall we say, caution periods. But yeah, they managed to get into the rhythm of it. Everybody sort of found themselves a little gap. They, amazingly, we didn't actually have a pit stop in the green flag conditions. Can you believe that? But yeah, everybody was luckily able to sort of grow into the race and really just enjoy it. Hopefully, they'll take this sort of form into next week, and we'll be able to have a good, clean green flag race. Obviously, with a few caution periods to throw it in, make sure a spanner in the works, shall we say. But realistically, everyone's learnt a lot today, I think, and there was some fantastic racing and unbelievable moves as well.
Yeah, it was. And to grab a lap of fuel short in the end. Talk about being unlucky. Team Down Under.
Apparently.
Team Down Under getting on the podium today. Good point being made in chat by Dave Baird.
Yeah, another point being made in the chat. Hendrik Grave was a lap short on fuel, so that's why he ended up dropping where we saw him having a fight with Ian Roots in a Flemish Simsport driver. And just have a look where on earth he finished in the end. Was he able to get all the way through? We were able to bring up the results in the end, but Hendrik de Grave clearly not having the best time of it.
Indeed, and here are the race results on the screen for Lucky Ducks Racing. It's Sergio Hernandez leading in front of Spanish compatriot Pablo Cortel, the professor indeed, and the firecracker Van Eekhoven in 3rd place for Team Down Under, picking up a very, very well-deserved podium. Teammate Kenzie Newhoff in 4th place, and Steve Claes there for Eximia Esports in the M&M's machine, the number 3 car in 5th place. John Tusting for Quantum Racing in 6th, with Kobe Claes, the privateer, in the 33 car in 7th, in front of the boss Ian Roots. Then Greg Franks, Bram van Uiften, Stuart Musselwhite 11th, and Adam Wright for Team Down Under in 12th place. Then launch doors. Hendrik de Grave, who was unlucky on the fuel in the end indeed, in front of Anton Dupin, Yves Fredericks, and I think actually when Hendrik says thanks Anton for the push, usually when you see that in chat, that's someone being rather sarcastic about being punted, but I think Hendrik ran out of fuel and actually got pushed to the line by his teammate. So that's team playing in there. Absolutely beautiful. I might have said here and there that it would be it would be Ed covering this one with me and not you, Jack. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I thought I would just put that one in the chat since you were reading out the results. No harm done, shall we say?
But anyways, moving on from that, 16th place, Eve Frederiks, Sven Kalben 17th, and Robert Lundgren 18th indeed, or Robert Lundgren in Swedish. Not that I'm Swedish, but it's hard to be correct in your pronunciations in any of the 3 Scandinavian languages while speaking English, I can tell you that much. Anyway, leaving up the big 19th, Craig Jones in 20th, and Bart Daleman in 21st place, who actually led the race for quite a while. Kim Behay 22nd, Bart de Vos, Ivan Bouwmans, Thijs van den Bergen, and Paul Gosling 26th, Ryan Walker 27th, ever so unlucky when it comes to these races. And the same has to be said for Brian Harris in the number 8 car. And 29th, also quite unlucky, the Dynamixx bus, the Mafia bus, indeed, at least according to the bumper of his car. The lad, Jochen Lennartz, who was indeed also unlucky on the first wheel. So I guess for a number of the drivers here, they'll be hoping that third time's the charm. Then Mathieu Souffy, Roger Morton, Stephen De Wolf, and Kurt van Honacker. And that indeed rounds off our results. And
I think we've got an interviewer or an interviewee. I'm not sure which way around that is, to be honest. In the waiting room in the Discord. So Hasse, I'll let you interview the firecracker himself, Fredrik, and Fredrik van Ekhoven.
Fredrik, thanks for joining us here in the booth for a quick post-race chat. And finally, I want to see you around 2. A very well-deserved podium for Team Down Under.
Yes, finally. Last race we got memed, to say it like that, running up front all the time, and now and then missing the podium with all 3 drivers. And now at least one of us get on top. Seems like the secret to a podium is not running at the front all the time.
It is very much true. I think that you can easily burn your matches while riding at the front, but while running at the front, indeed, just like a bike race. But all things come to the patient people. A hard race today, it looked like, from us commentators, at least from our perspective. Did it feel like that out on track as well?
Yeah, it was a difficult race. A lot of chaos as well throughout the race. I even got involved in a wreck myself. And then on that same restart, I saw Sergio being only a couple of lines in front of me, so also he had to fight through the pack. So I think it was a bit of bad luck for everyone at some point in the race.
And coming into the third round of racing, still picking up good points for your team, although there isn't a team championship, but for yourself, still up there in the Drivers' Championships as well. Will you be aiming for the overall title with a specific plan, or is it just a race-by-race approach for you?
It's NASCAR, so I think we better look at it week by week, race by race. And then see in Daytona whatever we can do. I think also Daytona, the final round, a bit of a lottery, but also at the same time where team play can be used to the max advantage. So first let's get to Daytona and then we'll see from there.
Very much so. Thanks for joining us for a quick interview here, Fredrik. And before we let you off the hook, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout out to?
Yes, so Team Down Under, especially Kenzie for he pulled over at the end of the race there, so I could chase the 2 Spaniards. I didn't catch them either, but at least I got a podium from it.
Well, thanks for joining us in the booth for an interview, and we hope to see you up here again on a future occasion, indeed, Fredrik. Good racing for yourself and your teammates, and thanks for tonight.
Okay, thank you.
So that was Fredrik van Ekhoven in for a bit of a chat with us, our third place finisher. We don't have any of the other podium finishers in, at least not yet. They might come in for an interview within the next few minutes. But we do have the SRW Big Boss, who's just done his first race of this series, and that's Ian Roots, and he's ready to talk to Jacob.
Yeah, we'll start, Ian, with the race before we crack on with any of the championship or anything like that. 21 positions, I think you made up. That's absolutely cracking. Top 10, you must be pleased with that.
I am pleased with that, actually. I think I finished 8th overall, I think it was 8th.
It was 8th, yeah, 25 positions gained, actually. So I actually got it wrong, so even better than what I said.
Yeah, it was just a case of, obviously I didn't race last week, so it's my first round in the championship this week. And it was a case of just feeling my way in. I knew tyre wear would come into play, and I didn't push too hard at the start. And by the time we got to the last caution period, I thought, right, no more fuel needed, fresh set of tyres, let's play it safe. And I managed to find myself quite far up the front, so I thought, right, I need to hang with these guys, and I couldn't. I physically didn't have the pace. But in the end, my tyres were coming back to me, and I managed to make a couple of places up at the end. But yeah, really pleased. What an evening, and in VR, unreal.
Oh, well, VR, yeah, I mean, it makes me feel sick, but if you can hack it, it's an amazing experience, isn't it? You fought really well with Hendrik de Grave and a few of the other Flemish Simsport drivers as well. Hendrik obviously ended up losing out the fact that he had a lack of fuel, but it looks like you guys were trading positions rather nicely towards the end, maybe trying to help each other with a bit of fuel saving or anything, or was it literally just trying to make sure you had track position?
No, I think it's track position. There wasn't a lot of fuel saving going on. I think if you had the pace to run at the front, then it was pretty much flat out all the way. But it's a good track. It's actually a good track. It's very similar to Michigan. Just the tyre wear really does play a massive part. I think in the first 10 laps, we're quite easily running under 29 seconds. And then 10, 12, 14 laps in, you lose 3/4 of a second. And then another 10 laps, you lose another half a second. So it does drop off rather rapid. It's just being able to keep the slipstream and kind of save those fronts, because it's the front right that takes the pain.
Yeah, well, and obviously we had an awful lot of cautions at the beginning of this race. You did predict that to us earlier on, but you predicted that with tyre wear, didn't you? A bit more of a sort of accident-prone race, really, this one. But everybody seemed to get into the rhythm of it after about halfway through.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. Like I said, I would say that at least 75% of the field are rookies. We're all learning as we go along. A few of us have done the odd occasional race. Those guys that race at the front, I'm guessing, are I wouldn't call them season pros, but they've done it before, and we're all learning. It's going to happen. It is a rookie season after all. I think everybody's doing rather well, to be honest. It's quite lively in the chat during the race, I must admit, but it is, it is oval. At the end of the day, if someone has a big crash and they're in the first half of the field, then it's going to collect some of the others at the back. So it's a case of just looking ahead and not looking at your bonnet, and making sure you're looking at the next turn, and keeping your wits about you, and not slamming on the brakes as soon as you see anything happen, because that causes everything behind you to stack up. But no, like I said, we're all learning, and I think everybody's doing a great job.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We are all learning, including me and Hasse in the comms box. So it is fascinating every single time we get one of these races. We learn just a little bit more. So talking very quickly on the rest of the championship, obviously you didn't compete in the first event, but I believe you watched it back and you competed today. You must be pleased, because you were really pushing to get this championship up. You were really keen for Over Racing to be on the SRW calendar. Is it everything you were hoping for?
It's everything and more, to be honest. I think the feedback I've had, everybody's being proactive. They're talking about how we can improve things, and even you guys in the comms box, you're learning as well, and we appreciate that. And we're looking at making it more American, if you like. Let's get some NASCAR feel to it. That's what the guys are saying. So some of the phrasings and what have you guys use. And as from a driving point of view, like I said, we're all learning. We did push it hard. We've never done this before. We had that one-off event, obviously. Bram is the man that's pushed it hard for the Belgians, and as you can see, I should think we got 80% Belgians, I think, on the grid. They're great supporters of SRW, but it's great fun. It is absolutely great fun, and actually being on the grid, that was my first full league race for a year. So it has been a long time coming for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm really glad, and I'm sure me and Hasse will be more than happy to search up some NASCAR phrasings and throw them in there. A little bit of spice in the comms box every Monday as well. Thank you very much, Ian, for having a chat to us. Is there anybody to give a quick shout out to before we let you get back to sort of turning everything off and watching the race back?
Yeah, obviously mainly Bram. He is officially the league director with my assistants, but Bram, he's working hard and getting everybody involved in the Discord. Obviously, Dynamixx, Yokonet Dynamixx, sponsoring the season as well, which is fantastic. And finally, really, just a shout out for the team. We, apart from poor old Matthew, who had a bit of issues quite early on in the race, I think we had 3 cars in the top 12, I think, which was quite impressive for us because we're all learning. It's all new for us. But yeah, so big shout out for the team.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ian Roots. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and good luck for the rest of the season. We'll have a chat to you in a bit.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
I'm just gonna break in right here, Ian, and
Go on.
just to let you know that we are indeed picking up on the job, and you'll be happy to know that I indeed did a prayer for the drivers of the field, for everybody's CPUs.
It was very good as well.
For their graphics cards, wheels and pedals, all the stuff that could go wrong in a race. So we're really trying to get that NASCAR feeling. And actually, before we started up, I was wondering if we should just kick off the stuff by having a good old Southern accent. But I think, you know what, that's probably going to be a step too far. Anyways, thanks for joining us, Ian. It was always a pleasure. Can't wait to have you in here for a chat as well next time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
So that was SRW owner Ian Roots in for a bit of a talk, in for a bit of a chat. I'm afraid that we don't have anyone else, any more drivers in the interview waiting room. And as such, that's going to conclude this evening's worth of racing here on Simracersworld TV. Give us a like if you think we deserve it, and do remember to subscribe for more great racing action here on Simracersworld TV. My name is Hasse Rømer. I've been with Jack Oliphant tonight. It's been such a pleasure having you all along. And do tune in next week, same time, same place for more NASCAR racing action here on SRW TV. And until then, take care, have fun, and so long.